Let's get back onto the build. The lightsaber is what we're going to be working on. I did paint it up with clear Tamiya red, but I didn't like that, so I moved over to the transparent red from Pro Acryl. I thought this process would be simple, but it's not, and we're going to take a look at what I did. The red looks like it's not transparent, but it is. You'll see when I put the lights on. The noodle's pretty flimsy, so what I did was I took the magnet wire and I CA glued it right to the outer casing of the LED light. This way it was more rigid, and I made a little loop at the top. This way when I put it into the lightsaber, we get more light at the tip. And here's the noodle lit up. It's pretty bright at 3 volt, but 11 volt was so much brighter. And here it is inside the lightsaber. You can see it glowing. It's better in the dark. But the unfortunate part is we are going to see the LED lights through it, and something happens when I do put this into her hands. Here's the lightsaber in a darker environment. It does look good. It's pretty bright, but like I said, that 11-12 volt one was so much brighter, but the heat just would have warped the hell out of the lightsaber. I have to open up these keys because I want to take out all the supports in here. This way I could get the wire through a lot easy. So we're going to open this up, clean up anything that has to be cleaned up, and then we're going to open up that key in her leg. You can see all the supports in there. I'm just going to take my tweezers, start pushing these around, break them off the inside, and rip them out the hole because I have to. I need it to make it a lot easier to run this wire through because this process was not as easy as you would expect it to be. Here are all the supports that I pulled out from the inside. Now I can slide that wire right through here, pull it out the bottom of her leg, and get it through her boot. But I got to do the same thing on the boots. I also have to do the same thing on her torso. I have to do it through the neck, the bottom, and her arm. This is going to be the most difficult one because I got to get the wire up over her shoulder and then back down. Again, I got to go through the same process of pulling all of the supports out. This way I have a clear, easy path to try to get that wire through. After struggling for about a half an hour, 40 minutes, I finally got all the supports out and we're good to go on this piece. I'm going to start working on the hilt of her lightsaber. It's going to be black. Back here, we're going to do a little red, a little decoration kind of, so it looks like it's glowing. And we're also going to have a different black on the prongs on the front and the back. Why the camera didn't want to focus on this, I have no clue, but we're painting up the main portion of the hilt with Pro Acryl's coal black. I made it very thin so I don't get any brush marks in here, and it's going to take me about 2 or 3 coats, thin coats, to get this all nice and black. These little prong doohickeys up front and the ones on the back here, I'm going to use Ammo by Miggs Black. This way it's a different shade of black from that coal black that we used on her hilt of this lightsaber here. I'm taking Pro Acryl Silver and I'm going to brush paint this in between each one of the little claw things here and into the top. This is going to be the backing of the color just to make it a little brighter, because the next step what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint over this with Tamiya Clear Red once this is dry. The silver's all dried up, so now I'm just taking that Tamiya Clear Red, painting it over the silver, which is going to shine through and kind of make it look like it's on, because the back of the lightsaber was supposed to be red. Because black is boring and we need a little bit of highlight, I'm dry brushing blue black onto the lightsaber just to give it a little hint of life. Now that it's all done up, the next thing I have to do is clear coat this just to protect the paint that we have here. I'm using Ammo by Miggs Satin to go over all the spines on the top and around the little circle thing, and also on the bottom. I have both parts of the lightsaber put together. We have the LED up there, but like I said, you can see the LED going up in there. The problem is when I was pulling it through the hilt here, at the top it spun around a bit and the dead spot is in the front now. This ended up being a very difficult process, especially going through her hand. I'm gonna have to do a lot of touch-ups and you'll see that. I thought I broke the LED quite a few times with how I had to pull it through, and I got very, very lucky. The next part is to get the hilt through her hands and get the wiring through her hands, which is not going to be an easy process. If I could have done this again, I would have tried to put an LED up the back. Of course, the next thing we got to do is paint up her arm so we could get that lightsaber in here. We're going to go with blacks and a dark silver. I'm going to paint the whole arm with Pro Acryl's coal black. I'm going to go over everything. It doesn't matter because we're going to put silver over it anyhow. I do fight tip dry a lot during this process. Now that we have the black on, you can actually see the ripples in her cloth here, and we're going to want to highlight those, and I'm going to use blue black to highlight those with the dry brush. When you do dry brush, don't have your brush dry. Make sure your brush is damp. Squeeze it out. You don't want it soaking wet. You want to squeeze out that water and make sure it's really damp. This way you don't get all that streakiness when you're using your dry brush technique. We have our highlights on. Now it's time to work on that armor. What I'm going to be using is dark silver on the armor, and the dark silver, of course, is from Pro Acryl. I have the silver thinned down 5:2, so that's 5 thinner drops to 2 of the paint, and I'm using the side of my brush. This way I don't get streaks in it. This is a number 2 round brush, I'm pretty sure, or number 4 round brush, and if you notice, I'm pulling the paint all in one direction. I probably will go backwards at some point, but you try to pull the paint all in one direction. This way you don't get any streaks and it comes out really nice. There's these rivets up and down her armor. We're going to use a different color. I'm going to use Vallejo's oily steel on these just to make those pop out more, because I don't want it monotone, and it just takes a little dab of paint on the circles, and it's very easy to do these, and you'll see the difference later on. I'm going to use Pro Acryl's black wash just to make the silver look a little darker and a little bit more grungy. Again, I'm trying to pull the wash all down in one direction. Oh boy, now it's time to get that lightsaber through the hand. I'm going to do this off camera because it was hard and I cursed and all that other good stuff. Shockingly enough, the lightsaber actually worked with how hard I had to pull it. You could see the light leak there. What we're going to do is we're going to use Tulip Slick black fabric paint to fill that in. It's going to end up being shiny at the end, so I have to go back in and touch up the hand. There was a lot of touch-ups on this because it was really difficult. Pulling the wire through and getting the hilt through her hands because of how tight her hand was, that was the problem I didn't foresee. If I was able to just use the magnet wire getting it through, then it would have been a lot easier. As you can see here, the cleanup is all done. I have the black all light block and it's good to go. It's all touched up and fine. Both arms are done. I did go back in with that oily steel to make those rivets pop out even more, but you can see the blue shading in there. Everything is looking good. So this is pretty much it where I'm going to end this video, and then we're going to start on the reds and get that done, and hopefully within the next week or so we'll be finished with the build.